You're broke and can't afford this car. Get out!
A black man walked into a Mercedes-Benz dealership and was mocked the moment he stepped inside. The salesman laughed at his clothes, whispered that he couldn't afford a car, and told him he was wasting their time. They judged him by his appearance, humiliated him in front of customers, and made it clear they thought he didn't belong there. But what they didn't know was that the man they laughed at wasn't just another customer. He was someone they should never have disrespected. And by the time he made one phone call, every single one of them learned what real accountability looks like. The glass doors slid open, and the hush of air conditioning spilled out into the morning heat. Adrian Wells stepped inside the Hayes Mercedes-Benz Center, hands in his pockets, clothes plain as daylight, faded jeans, black t-shirt, worn sneakers. The place gleamed like a museum. Silver, black, and white cars lined in perfect rows under spotless lights. But the moment he walked in, every head turned. One salesman leaned toward another, smirking. "He's probably lost," he muttered, loud enough for Adrian to hear. Another chuckled. "Nah, he's here to take pictures for Instagram. Happens all the time." Their laughter bounced off the polished floor. The receptionist, perfect hair, tight smile, glanced up from behind her desk and rolled her eyes. "Good morning, sir," she said sweetly, then added under her breath, "Let's make this quick." Adrian didn't bite. He moved toward the AMG display, sleek, black, the kind of machine built for precision. He just looked at it once, steady, as if measuring something invisible. "Hey, careful," one salesman barked, stepping in front of him. "We don't let people touch these unless they're serious buyers." "Serious buyers?" Another echoed. "Come on, look at him." The laughter came again, sharper this time, echoing off metal and glass. Adrian's expression never changed. He simply asked, voice calm, "How many cylinders does this one run?" The first salesman folded his arms. "You wouldn't need to know that, man. You're not driving it anywhere." Someone from across the room whistled. "Tell him the payment plan starts at 6 figures. That'll send him running." More laughter. A customer near the counter frowned but said nothing. Adrian just stood there, eyes on the AMG emblem, while their jokes spilled over like cheap wine. Maybe he thought this was the used car section, or the rental agency next door. Yeah, maybe he's looking for the bus schedule. Have you ever walked into a place and was judged the moment you stepped through the door, just because of how you looked? Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where our viewers are tuning in from. And if you believe that respect should never depend on wealth or skin color, smash that like button and subscribe to Story Arc for stories that remind the world that dignity always comes before status. They howled. He didn't move. He'd heard worse before, but not here. Not like this. Then, slowly, Adrian reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and scrolled to a contact marked Leonard, MB owner. The laughter didn't stop until they heard his quiet voice say into the receiver, "Hey, bro, you might want to know what's happening inside your own showroom right now." The room went still. The room was still echoing with laughter when Adrian turned his back on them and walked toward the window, phone pressed to his ear. The mocking stopped, not out of respect, but because curiosity had finally crept in. "Leonard," he said quietly, voice even, "I'm standing in your downtown showroom right now." A pause. Then his tone hardened. "Your staff have been mocking me since I walked in. Loudly. I came to buy an AMG and they treated me like a stray walking into a palace. You might want to fix that." The salesman traded uneasy glances. One whispered, "Who's he calling?" But on the other end of that call, Leonard Hayes, the actual owner of the dealership chain, wasn't laughing. The sound of his chair scraping back was sharp through the phone. "They did what?" Leonard's voice boomed through the speaker. "In my showroom?" Adrian didn't need to say much else. Just the quiet, "You heard me," was enough. "Don't move a step," Leonard snapped. "Stay right there, brother." His breathing grew heavier. "I'm calling the manager now. They're done. Every last one who opened their mouth." Then the line went dead. Adrian slid the phone back into his pocket, calm as stone. The staff were whispering now, nervous laughter fading into silence. Moments later, another phone started ringing across the room. It was the desk line. The receptionist, Lydia Marks, picked up, cheerful at first, until her smile broke. "Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Hayes." The color drained from her face. She passed the phone to the senior salesman. His hand trembled as he lifted it. Sir, I. Whatever Leonard said on the other end hit like thunder. The salesman's voice cracked. He's still here, sir. When the call ended, no one spoke. The laughter, the arrogance, the jokes, all gone. The manager's office door burst open a moment later, footsteps fast and heavy, his face tight with panic as he strode toward Adrian. Every head in the showroom turned. The entire showroom froze as the manager, Richard Vaughn, strode out, phone still clutched in his hand. His expression was grim, the kind that meant someone up the chain was furious. He didn't glance at the staff who had been laughing moments ago. His eyes locked straight on Adrian. He walked right up to him and extended his hand respectfully. Mr. Wells, he said, voice tight but sincere, on behalf of Mercedes-Benz and our entire management team, I owe you a personal apology. The laughter that once filled the air died completely. The same salesman who mocked Adrian now stood stiff, confused. The receptionist froze halfway through, pretending to type. The manager gestured toward the row of shining cars. Sir, please tell me, how many AMG models would you like? The words hit the room like thunder. The staff blinked, stunned. Adrian finally spoke, his tone even and measured. 2, he said simply. Both AMG, different colors. For a long moment, no one breathed. Then one of the salesmen, the loudest of the mockers, Trevor Lang, snorted and muttered just loud enough to be heard. He's wasting your time, boss. Look at him. He can't afford 2 bicycles, let alone 2 AMGs. The air went razor sharp. The manager pivoted toward the salesman, his voice low enough to chill the room. Repeat that, he said slowly, each word clipped like a command. The salesman's confidence shattered. I just meant, sir, look at him. You can't seriously believe. Stop talking. The manager stepped forward, tone rising, eyes locked on him. You want to talk about looks? Then look closely. Because that man you just mocked isn't who you think he is. He pointed to Adrian. That's Mr. Adrian Wells, billionaire founder of Apex Logistics, the largest freight network on the continent. The man who built more jobs in this city than you've ever applied to. And in case your brain's still catching up, he's also the personal friend of Leonard Hayes, the man who owns this entire dealership. Trevor's jaw hung open. The color drained from his face. The manager didn't stop. His voice cut through the silence like steel. You're fired, he said flatly. Effective immediately. Hand in your badge and leave this building. The man's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Security, Paul Benton, was already moving. Out, the manager repeated. Now. Trevor's shoes scuffed across the tile as every pair of eyes followed him to the door. The sound of that door closing was the loudest thing anyone had heard all day. The manager turned to the rest of the staff, those who had laughed along, like Brett Collins and Derek Shaw, those who had stayed silent when they should have spoken, like Evan Price. The rest of you aren't in the clear, he said evenly. Every name on this floor is under review. If your behavior reflected this disgrace, you'll be gone before the week ends. Count on it. He adjusted his cufflinks, tone measured, professional. This dealership represents excellence. Excellence starts with respect. If you can't show that to every person who walks in here, you don't belong on this floor. Across the glass, Adrian's twin AMGs waited at the curb, silver and black, engines idling like thunder held in chains. He took his keys without a word, nodding once to the manager. The man who'd been dismissed walked past the window, head down, while the rest of the team stared at their reflections, seeing the price of arrogance staring back. Adrian stepped into the driver's seat, the door closing with a solid, deliberate click. The engines roared alive, drowning the last traces of mockery. The staff watched in silence as both AMGs disappeared down the boulevard, the echo of their engines a lesson none of them would ever forget. If you believe in equality, accountability, and that respect should never depend on appearance, hit that like button and subscribe to Story Arc for stories that remind the world that real class starts with character.